Next up we have Matthew's request. He wants me to look at a sci-fi dystopian movie simply called LaMB. That's capital L, lowercase a, and all caps M and B. This was a Singaporean-Japanese film produced by Animax, a distribution and production company based in Japan. The screenplay is an adaptation to a story by Carmelo Junlio, whose work was submitted to a 2007 script writing competition hosted by Animax. Though in practice, the IP is now taken away from the original creator. Pretty sus if you ask me. Anyway, LaMB was first shown on Animax channels on March of 2009, and it was dubbed in multiple languages. The English copy I'm using is taken from YouTube, though its quality leaves something to be desired. We'll save any other worthwhile stuff for later, but for now, let's herd some sheep and watch some LaMB. Right away, we start with someone going through the process of lamination. We'll learn more of what that is, but right now we see that something has gone wrong.
Shut it down!
Yeah, unfortunately with how the quality is, I don't know what exactly happened at the end. Did he destroy himself from crashing into the window? Or did he escape? I should note that the art style of this film is by Yasufumi Yojima. He may or may not be the same storyboard artist for David Productions' JoJo anime, and it's hard to find much about LaMB outside of Wikipedia, and even then, their sources look defunct. Still, there's something about the animation that's kinda neat, but jarring. The 2D characters move seamlessly a lot of the time, and kinda remind me of Mondo TV's Fantasy Island, so there are some odd bits there. But the CGI? Again, maybe it's the video quality, or it's just strange editing choices. Whoever this lady is, she thinks this project will be the future of Sarah, whatever that is. And now the opening. I can't help but feel like this is a setting straight out of Ghost in the Shell, or Astral Chain. The series also seems to be geared towards a Western audience, because the opening is sung by Simple Plan. In any case, we get a narration dump that dates the story to 2272 AD. At this point, humanity fled a ruined Earth to settle on other worlds. And one such planet is Sarah, a desert planet that resisted any efforts to make it lusher and greener. Because of this, everyone on the planet resides in domed cities. Here's where we're introduced to the main character of the story, Jack Griswold, voiced by Vanus Wu. He seems to be from another planet, since he doesn't seem familiar with society on Sarah, and he's going there to see if he can help it grow vegetation. He's picked up by Agent Keiko Suzuki, voiced by Josie Ho, who drives him to the government's central administration building located in the city center. We spot some protesters, with one sign saying, "Slavery is not justice." This catches Jack's attention, while making us wonder what the hell kind of government is this. He soon meets the lady from the start of the movie, Director Goldberg. She has high expectations towards Jack, and lets slip some more details about our main character's backstory, like the fact that he lost his wife from a tragic accident.
My wife?
Sarah seems like the last sort of place that she'd visit, that's all.
With all due respect, Miss Goldberg, you don't know my wife, and you don't know me. You want to turn this planet green? I'm the man that will make it happen.
I know it's early, but you can sound a bit angrier when she's dissing your wife. Anywho, Jack is taken to his research facility, which is surrounded by artificial nature. He's given a robot assistant that can be voice operated, and it is quite strong for a little guy.
Impressive.
Maybe it's just the most we get from Wu, since English might not be his first language. From what I can find, he was a member of a Taiwanese boy band called F4, and he dubbed various English films in Mandarin Chinese. I'm going to assume he sounds better there than he does here. The robot malfunctions and almost destroys Jack's cube image of his wife, but Keiko is there to shut it down. Since he doesn't want another robot assistant, because it might do worse next time, she makes a different suggestion.
Perhaps we can get you a lamp.
A what?
Oh boy, here it comes. Jack is taken to a store where lambs are held, and we learn from Keiko that they're laminated people. Their modifications give them superhuman strength and resistance against the planet's hostile climate. But they have no free will and must be told what to do.
So they're slaves.
They're lambs. They need a shepherd. It'll be your job to take care of the one assigned to you.
I had a feeling this is where they were going with the title. There are no other animals on Sarah, so the only source of manual labor comes from humans. And if the protests are any indication, it's clear that these lambs are being treated like slaves and not people. There's more to come, but for now, we're introduced to Jack's lamb, Eve 1135. If Jack was named Adam, then we'd have Adam and Eve.
Eve is the generic designation for female lambs. Adam for males.
Oh, damn it! So does the Sarah government think of itself as God? We then see Eve being fed her nutrients and energy through a machine. Of course, Jack is having trouble with a person being treated like a tool or appliance, cause that's morally messed up. Eve cannot talk, but she can still see and hear. As to where this lamination tech came from, it originally started as an anti-aging tool before it was repurposed to create lambs. We might get more soon because we cut to Jack working on his terraforming project with Eve. Since she can't talk, they communicate by typing on a keyboard. And it's here we learn that she's feeling very lonely. We also get a flashback from Jack where he relives the death of his wife. They were being transported down a space elevator, it malfunctioned, and I guess people either fell upward into an explosion, or I don't know. I feel like this should have been elaborated more. Even with this detail, we're only getting the bare outline of Jack's character. But the point is that he's feeling lonely too. And when he realizes that Eve is practically exposed when wearing the exosuit, he decides to take her out to shop for clothes. Most of them look fine, though eventually Jack asks her to pick out what she wants. Too bad. Oh hey, government-funded propaganda! Of course they'll say this looks good, because they made it! But then Jack and Eve are approached by some anti-lamb people, who we later learn are called wolves. I suppose this means we get an action scene, and it's pretty long for a movie that's only 45 minutes long. Speaking of the runtime, we're really flying by with this story. We're close to halfway through the movie, and we barely got a taste of the world building going on. Hell, the relationship between Jack and Eve is also getting rushed in the process. And given what's about to happen, we have to get as much exposition out as possible. So there's a totally ambitious action sequence that uses CGI. Even factoring in the low quality of my copy of the movie, it still doesn't look very good. The wolves then corner Jack and Eve, and this little gang is led by not Vash the Stampede.
Your little plastic doll there, do you know what she is? She's flesh and blood, Pops. Just like you and me. They locked her in there. But now you have a chance to free her.
Free her?
For someone with a doctor in front of your name, you're sure dumber than a sack of manure. You think she wears this for her health?
Look, I want to believe you actually care about laminated people, but one of your guys is acting like, hey look, she ain't reacting normally. Doesn't exactly help your cause if you don't even treat them like people. I guess it's why Jack is hesitant in letting them take Eve. Then again, Eve doesn't want to be taken either, so this happens.
Fight back. It's impossible.
I really have to wonder how this was fully produced. If this really was an ambitious undertaking by Animax, then That's pretty disappointing. Anyway, Eve fights off the wolves despite her exosuit zapping her at every turn, because of course the suits prevent them from touching people. But that leaves the ringleader of the wolves, who's about to pull the trigger on her. Oh wait, the police show up to arrest them. Never mind. We then cut back to Central Administration, where Director Goldberg debriefs Jack on what happened. Jack then presses her about who the Lambs really are.
A prisoner?
We don't have prisons on Sarah, Dr. Griswold. We have beauty.
Beauty? Is that how you really think of slavery?
So basically, they turned criminals into unwilling slaves. We already see something like this with real-world governments using prisoners as free slave labor. But this is essentially the kind of dictatorship that would get away with laminating people without much resistance. Anyway, the wolves' ringleader is also brought to the director, and it turns out to be Keiko, who just so happens to have a past with Eve 1135. We learn that this is all a setup by the director, who baited Keiko into assigning Eve to Jack because she wanted to take her away later. And on top of capturing any wolves or dissenters, Goldberg can conduct her master plan to eventually turn everyone into lambs, I guess.
No! I'll never become like her! Ah! You ruined everything!
It's not his fault he didn't know about all this. He's not happy about this either, you know. It's all about punishing criminals, not with death, but with beauty. And I guess she just lets Jack and Eve go. And this is where we get more backstory from our Lamb character, whose true name is Sarah Integra. She has the scientific know-how to help Jack because she was once working with Keiko's parents on a similar project. Hell, Sarah has known Keiko since the latter was a little girl.
Aunt Sarah, what's that noise? I'm scared.
Don't worry, Keiko. It's the wind.
Yes, it's the wind, Keiko.
Do you have artificial wind in there or something? Anyway, the experiment goes to crap and results in a massive explosion. Keiko's parents lock themselves in to contain the blast, and they tell Sarah to take their daughter and run for it.
No! Uncle Mama, no!
Afterwards, Sarah was convicted of manslaughter and was sentenced to lamination for up to 200 years. Now that Jack has an understanding of how Eve is in a similar situation as he is, they decide to lean on one another for emotional support from now on. Later on, Jack is giving a presentation on his terraforming efforts. He's made a plant that can synthesize water, so Sarah is finally going to be green after all. As this is going on, we see Keiko undergoing her lamination. But like with the guy from the introduction, she also breaks free and starts rampaging.
Get up, get up!
What the hell was that? Seriously, that looks bad. This is like if Animax made X-Arm with early CGI. And also, as cool as Keiko looks, who thought that giving her weaponized hair was a good idea? Is she a military-grade lamb or something? And of course, the lamination facility is in the same building as Central Administration, so Keiko crashes her way into the presentation chamber. Director Goldberg escapes though, which leaves Eve alone to fight this new lamb. I think the production just ran out of money at this point, so the fights are even jankier than before. It's like they had an idea for what should happen, but the flow of movement just isn't there. There's also not enough connective tissue to make sense of even this action scene. Eventually, Jack makes it to the roof and intercepts the killing blow. This causes Keiko to be zapped something fierce and leads her to falling over. Eve tries to save her because they are still found family, but... Yes, very sad. Anyway, sometime later, Jack's project worked, and now Sarah is a verdant world. He now has a proper grave for his wife, and Eve is still with him. Except, she's no longer laminated.
Nice view, isn't it? Your hair's a mess.
Messy's the way I like it now.
Okay, that's nice and all, but I think we're still missing something.
We dismantle the glass walls that caged us, and breathe the scent of a new garden. I, Eve 1135, Sarah Integra, emerged from my own shell of lamination. But I shall never forget the path of regret that gave me a chance to live again.
Wait, that's it? No resolution for Director Goldberg? Just, there are no more lambs and the planet turned green? This really does feel like a pilot for a full-on TV series, or a longer feature-length movie, because what we have is missing like half its story. This is especially true at around the halfway mark, because right when we think that we have some time to see Jack and Eve getting closer, the plot accelerates forward and brings along the anti-Lamb group. Then we have no breathing room between Sarah's backstory and Keiko going berserk. And remember, even if Jack succeeded in his terraforming project, that still leaves Director Goldberg and the lamination project. What happened to her? Did the wolves overthrow the government? Are lambs a thing in the past? The movie doesn't say, despite building up to it all this time. The acting I can kinda excuse, since English probably isn't the first language of the voice actors we have, but the animation... oh wow. At first it seems fine, as the CGI is a bit janky but serviceable for the time, but the longer it goes on, the worse it gets. That final battle was so laughably bad that it really did remind me of X-Arm. The music is a little better, but that's really it. Overall, this was just a mess of a film. I could see the potential in the world building, because there was a tie-in game where you can choose between being pro or anti-Lamb, but you'd be better off watching Ghost in the Shell. Not only is it something attached to Animax, but it is a better dystopian setup than what they did here. Next time, we at least have something a lot better by an underappreciated studio. I'll see you then.